Okay, guys. So today we are going to be doing another Q&A video. And throughout this video, I am going to try to talk quickly, okay? And I'm going to try to be louder when I talk. I don't know why it is such an issue for me, but if you find that my talking is too slow, you can use the speed settings to speed me up. I really don't mind that at all. So, the first question is I've been going through some kind of dark night of the soul slash spiritual awakening for a few years. I just can't get it out of my head that I need to know what the next place after this life on earth is. Can you shed any light on what happens? This is something that a lot of people think about. I think that the afterlife process is different depending on the person. So, this is just based on my own experience doing OBEs and just hearing things from other people and kind of comparing that. So, I do think that after you pass away, you may, I don't think everyone does this. I think it really depends on the individual. I think that you may go through sort of like an obstacle course or kind of like a maze of your own fears. So, your own subconscious fears that are hidden in the back of your mind. And the reason why I think this is because it is referenced, I believe, in quite a lot of spiritual texts. They call it some people call it the Kama Loka. Um, I'll just tell you, one time I tried to do an OBE. So I do OBEs, out of body experiences, that are pretty much like an induced near death experience. And I've had a few experiences that were successful. But one time I was trying to do it and I woke up in what I would call my own thought field. So I kind of woke up in my own materialized version of my own creations in my own mind. And I actually woke up in a room that had no window and no door. So, really, and it was kind of like all concrete walls. And this was very, very real. So, people who do OBEs, you know that when you wake up, it feels almost more real than this reality that we're in, which is crazy. But so I woke up in this room, which is, I would say, is a materialized version of one of my very deep seated subconscious fears. So just imagine that for a second. Imagine waking up in a room with no windows and no doors and just no way out. It's very much like no exit kind of thing. But then when I woke up in that room, I kind of yelled out and just said, like, I don't want to be here. Get me out of here, blah, blah, blah. And then I left. Our thoughts are, they matter. People say all the time that your, like, the power of thought, manifestation, things like that, what you think you are. So I really do think that your thoughts, even your subconscious thoughts, are kind of existing in your field. And when you die, you will just kind of go through that field. And if you're a person who cares about this idea of self-reflection and getting over fears and things like that, which I feel like you are, I don't think that you'll have to go through it. I think it depends on the person. So after you go through all your fears and things like that, I believe that everyone will be met with the opportunity to go home, basically, and to leave the reincarnation cycle. But I do think that a lot of people don't want to, or they're just having so much fun here, and it's very exciting. It's a very exciting place that we live in, but it's not home. It's not pure peace. So while you're living here, you can't really say that you're ever totally peaceful. You might be peaceful for maybe 5 seconds, probably more than that, but you know what I'm saying. So I think that you'll have that chance, and I don't believe that anyone is trapped, but you would be surprised how hard it is to leave, because think about how when you're playing a really fun game, you don't want to stop. You don't want to stop and just relax. It can be very fun. There's a lot of things to discover. There's a lot of newness, a lot of novelty. So both have their benefits. So discovering new things and all that, that has benefit, but also going home has benefit. And I think if you're one of those people who is thinking about, oh, okay, after I die, what decision am I going to make? I feel like you already have kind of had your fun here and you're ready to exit totally. Some people don't feel like they deserve to exit, so they'll stay in the reincarnation cycle. Some people want to stay because it's so fun. So there's a lot of different reasons. So yeah. So for this next question, I'm going to just show it because I don't want this video to get flagged if I say that stuff out loud. So with this topic of this, I do think that more is going to come out about it. And I think that it's a lot bigger than any of the conspiracy theories even tell us. So you might hear these things about, oh, children are being abused, da, 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 da. It is a lot more dark and graphic. It's just bigger. It's even multidimensional. Also, those kids that you see in commercials, kids that you see in children's TV shows, especially in like the 90s, 80s, 90s. Also, people who are shown, like, I'm just NASA, like, they're not astronauts. They're just not astronauts. So there's even adults who are kind of born into this prison system, and we have no idea about it because it's to trick us. You know what I mean? Also, game shows. Have you ever met someone who's won money on a game show or been in the audience of a game show? Just let me know. We live in the more free part of society, but there is a whole group of people and a whole system that is pretty much used to run our world. You might have products in your house right now that very much is a result of that system. Okay. I can't really go into detail, first of all, because it's so much more dark than you could ever think. And I don't really want to go there, but just know that it is real and it's right in front of your face. The shows that you used to watch, stuff you see on social media, even certain YouTube channels that seem a little bit weird, a little bit off, those people, they're not okay and they are hostages. But that's just my opinion. So I think that we will, like, get more and more information about this. I don't know if the whole thing will be revealed to us because it would just be so extreme for people. It would just be so shocking for people. I think one way that you can help is to spread awareness about it and just kind of tell people, let people know, oh, did you know that, that conspiracy theory about how they're abusing children? Like, it really is real. It really is true. Okay. Hi, I hope the new year has started off well for you. I have a question if you don't mind. Why do you think some psychics don't receive the same answers/info as others? I had a psychic reading done a while back, and everything the lady told me was super negative. It was a terrible experience. So, yeah, this is something that does happen, and I have gotten a few messages just over the past year or so of people asking, oh, why would this psychic say that? Or why would this psychic say this? It really freaked me out. The same way that you will sometimes meet someone and they always have this negative spin on things, you can work with a psychic who also has a negative spin on the world. So let's say that they got the message, maybe they're like clairvoyant mainly, and they saw something, like they saw a skull or something like that. They saw the skull, they instantly got freaked out and said, oh my gosh, skull, that can mean death. The thing is that when you first start out developing your psychic abilities, you may only be relying, or you may only be open to just clairvoyance, just clairaudience, things like that. And you're getting this symbol, and then you're using your own filter, your personal filter, to interpret it for the client. I don't think that that's like a super reliable way to get psychic information and to relay psychic information to others. And I literally used to do this 7 years ago when I was first opening my psychic abilities. I would like lay down for an hour and get like one word as a message. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's the word. What does it mean? And that's all I got. I would just get this one word. I think that the best psychics, they use multiple abilities at once. So an example would be, you might get, if you're a psychic, you might get a symbol, and then at the same time getting this feeling of, okay, this definitely feels, it's very sudden, it's surprising. Okay, that tells you something about it, as opposed to just relying on your own history as like a human and what you personally think about it. When you're doing psychic readings, you should be using all of your abilities at once and just letting it all come in. When I'm getting information, it just comes from everywhere. It's like, okay, image, word, okay, feeling, okay, I have this knowingness about it. And it all was just kind of, it's like happening all at once. So I'm not putting my own judgment on what I'm seeing. I'm just saying, okay, I see a plant. This feels, I just feel very neutral about it. Okay, I feel neutral probably means that it's a symbol. If I see a plant and I feel this forward motion and it feels very urgent, then I know that, okay, this is important. This is something that they really need to know. Let me ask more questions to like get more into it. Another reason why a psychic will put a negative spin on things and kind of freak you out or scare you is because they are channeling from the lower astral. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm sure you've seen on Gaia who are channeling actual beings, and they hear this voice really loudly in their head. It like they're literally talking to another being. And I will say that I also do this. It happens to me sometimes, maybe around once a month. I'll wake up at 3 in the morning or something, and then there's like a really loud booming voice in my head. And sometimes it feels kind of like a disembodied spirit. Sometimes it feels more robotic. That's like a ET definitely talking to me. Or I swear there's like government programs that talk to people like that. They send out these telepathic signals. And it makes me think, okay, do I have like some kind of device behind my ear? But to me, talking to a being is not necessarily psychic information. To me, that's literally just communication. And I'll sometimes get actual communication where it feels like a walkie-talkie in my head. And I know that it's my space crew, or it's one of my relatives that have passed away, or like I said, like an ET thing, or it's the government. There are some psychics who I think are literally getting their information from these beings. You also maybe have heard of the Galactic Federation. So to me, true psychic information is more very light. It's coming from into all of your senses at once, and it's more imagination based than a booming voice in your head. And when it comes to choosing a psychic to work with, I would say to always just follow your intuition. So if you see someone and you might want to get a reading for them, if you're excited about it and you just kind of know, you just know you want to have a reading with them, you maybe several days will go by and you still want to have a reading with them, that feeling doesn't go away, that would be a good sign that they're the right person for you. I would try to ignore recommendations from friends unless you look at the person and go, oh my gosh, yeah, I love them. I mean, I like they have a good vibe and they resonate with me. So that's the most important. You always should follow your intuition when getting a reading. When people say to heal feminine, masculine energy, what does that mean and what does that even look like? So I also have been confused about this in the past because it is true. Feminine, masculine, it feels very abstract. So to me, masculine energy or healing your masculine energy could be compared to healing your perception of the father or your own father. I feel like the more your own masculine is healed, the more you're going to see your father in a more whole way. You won't be as kind of judgmental against him. You won't be as resentful. You'll see him as a little boy, an old man. You'll see every part of him, even accepting that he can be weak sometimes. So accepting every part of him, yeah, I would say. And for feminine, it's the exact same thing. So seeing the mother, so this could also be the earth, your own mother, seeing her as not just the stereotype of how you see her. So not just a caretaker or, you know what I mean? Seeing her as someone who has all the emotions and you being okay with that. And it's hard. It's hard to get there, especially when you were born into a family that was where there was very unbalanced masculine, feminine in your parents. I think when you have had that healed within yourself, you kind of become your own father. This is like what I talk about in the color ray decoding videos, the movie decodings. You become your own father, you become your own mother, and you don't necessarily need your mother or father to be a certain way. Hopefully that made sense. What do the elementals and fairy realm want us as light workers to do at this time to assist the planet? So if you have seen my elemental videos, I talk about how when we incarnate here, we are pretty much everyone is at least one type of elemental connected to one element. So that could be earth. You can see I get really excited about this. Okay. Earth, fire, water, etc. Air. I would say, so you were talking about the fairy realm specifically, but maybe you meant the fae, which kind of includes all elementals. But for example, if someone is connected strongly to fairies and has that very strong fairy energy to them, they will naturally do certain things throughout their life that will help the earth. They can't help it. They can't escape it. So one thing that fairies like to do, or people who are connected to fairies for the earth, they like to make things like look pretty and beautiful. So they like to make nature nice. So they might plant flowers, things like that. I'll go through some other examples because I just love talking about this. People who are connected to gnomes, they literally are, they will garden, they will grow their own food, and they'll teach others to grow their own food. So they're going to take care of the earth in that way. And it's more like celebrating nature. They all have their own ways of doing it. Elves, they like herbs. They like to use nature to heal the body. So maybe they will grow herbs and they're gonna celebrate nature in that way and kind of get people excited about nature. What else? Well, mermaids, I'm not lying about this. They like water and they like it when water is clean. So you might see people who are connected to mer people involved with anything having to do with cleaning up the oceans. But I would also say that at this time in history, like not everything we do is going to be positive for the planet because we have to survive. So if we have to use a plastic bag so we don't die tomorrow, we might just have to do that. So it's not like everything you do as a person with strong elemental energy. It's not going to be like everything you touch is going to heal the planet. It's just not the way it's going to work. But I think elementals are very excited about environmentalism. So, yeah. To connect more to that, I would just say just to be yourself, connect to your authentic energy, connect to your heart space. You can do connect to your womb space. I will put links to my information about healing the heart chakra and healing the womb chakra. But yeah, I would bet that you're already doing it. It's not so much a question other than, so I guess it's safe to say that I'm not going crazy. I don't know what happened to me when COVID hit, but the things I see and hear and feel are highly intensified. I'm lost in all this. I'm afraid there's no reasonable answer and I'm stuck. I'm assuming that you maybe got sick. So this is absolutely something that can affect your psychic abilities. Getting a viral infection, getting poisoned. Sometimes those things they kind of thin the nerves. So what happened to me, this was around maybe 7 years ago. I got really, really sick. I woke up and the whole left side of my body was totally numb. And I think that was a result of possibly like a really bad viral infection. I felt like I got poisoned. Like it was a really weird thing. And that lasted around 3 months where my nerves it felt like they were on fire. couldn't even listen to a radio. I remember I was in the car listening to a radio and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like my ears are like burning from listening to the radio. So ever since then, my nerves have just been more sensitive. And I feel like it has made my psychic abilities stronger, but I also had to go through that whole thing. However, I do find that when people are getting like too much spiritual experiences where it feels like they're on drugs or something like that, or psychedelics, there's something going on either in the environment or with their health. So, if you are having so much psychic phenomena or spiritual experiences where you're like, this is just too much, I would ask what you are eating. So, what is your diet like? Because sometimes when you're not eating enough, if you're in a starvation mode, not only are you detoxing, so you're maybe detoxing poisons through your system, and it's just too much. It's too much for your system. So it's either that or it's you're not eating enough, you're not getting enough minerals. And minerals, to me, they're very protective of energy. Actually, this woman, Nutrition Elements, I talk about her all the time, but she's my favorite health person because she talks about the connection between the spirit world, and the food you eat. So she talks about how minerals are they're protective for your aura. And if you're not eating, you don't have that natural protection. So your aura is going to be thinner. You're going to be more susceptible to just being exposed to everything, anything and everything. So yeah, I would ask that. I would ask, are you eating vegan? Because I actually found for myself that when I was vegan, like I wasn't okay. I was not okay because I just wasn't eating enough. Our food is so depleted. Our soil is so depleted. So, and this is why eat I do eat animal fat because that it's protective for your nerves. And I try to get a lot of minerals. So, yeah. Also magnesium, like just minerals. So, I would ask that. I would also ask what kind of water you're drinking. If you're drinking tap water, there's could be a lot of chlorine in it and that could be kind of interacting with your nerves and just like just kind of distorting your nervous system, if that makes sense. So like you won't feel, I don't know, you won't have control. You won't have control over your energy field. This is the same as when if I eat certain foods with chemicals, I have a harder time doing OBEs and stuff like that just because they're playing on my nerves, if that makes sense. I would also want to know if you have any crystals around you because some crystals can be just open you up too much. I think there are certain crystals that are fine for people who are very like open in like their crown and the upper chakras. Some of those crystals are rose quartz. Like rose quartz is very mild. Aquamarine is good. Shungite is good because it just kind of gives you this empty, kind of quiet feeling, which is really nice. Other than that, like if you have clear quartz or you have a lot of these different crystals around, I would just put all of those away. Even listening to binaural beats can be too activating for your crown chakra. So, what I would prioritize is eating more and just sitting outside near, like beside a tree and just getting grounded and just putting away all of your spiritual stuff. I would love to know about your energetic practices as a psychic. How did you train your gifts when you first started opening up, and how do you continue to advance and progress them as you evolve? Okay. I'll start with the energetic practices. It's funny because it was such a long term thing. So it's not like every day I get up and I'm like, okay, I have to do my energy. I have to do my energy work. There was a time in my life where I did have to do that every day. And it's kind of amazing how it just slowly, you slowly kind of, mm, the more like energy work you do, the more trauma you release from your body, the more you learn a new baseline for your body. And there's a reason why people do energy work. It's because it really does work. But in the beginning, I yeah, my energy work was very much womb healing was such a big thing. I did it for like a whole summer almost every day because it was so, to me, that is like my favorite energy healing, because and it's also trauma healing, so it releases these like subconscious memories that's really keeping you tight and in fear. I'll put like links below. I have a blog post about womb healing because we store memories in our womb. So it's basically you just going down there, letting your body kind of experience those memories and releasing them. I find it actually similar to EMDR, which is like the bilateral eye thing. Before I did womb healing, I was really into heart space clearing, which is it's very similar to womb healing. It's like the same thing except doing it in your heart, but I will also link to that. Another thing, it's just funny because it was just a series of experiences that really just like cleared my field over time. I would say ever since my like I really opened up my abilities 7 years ago, like ever since then it was just like an ongoing thing, and a lot of trial and error, where for example I would do a breath work, go to a breath work workshop, and that really didn't work for me because I am so I have like such strong clairvoyance that I just saw the weirdest stuff and I was like, this is crazy. I'm not like this isn't working. And it was very unbalancing to me. So also my OBE experiences have done things to clear my energy field. So the way the OBE experience helped me was that it really showed me that my soul cannot be killed. I am eternal, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, when I'm back here on earth doing a reading, I don't have to be afraid of what I see. Nothing, or I don't have to be afraid of weird voices talking to me, because at the end of the day, nothing can kill me, really. Nothing can kill my soul. So just knowing that and experiencing that in an OBE, added added a lot of confidence to my psychic abilities. And when you are fearless in that way, like totally fearless, like you're okay with dying pretty much, that's when things come through very clearly. So when I actually get a lot of messages from people who will say things like, "Oh my gosh, that's so crazy that you saw that. Oh my gosh." Um, I've tried to open my abilities, but I'm afraid of what I'm going to see. So that fear that you have of what you might see, that blocks you from seeing most of the information. So like I said earlier, when I was first opening up my abilities and I would just lay down for an hour and get one word and it barely meant anything, that was because I would ask my question and then I would simultaneously, as I waited for the answer, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Am I okay? Am I going to get hurt? Are they going to like do some kind of weird stuff with my mind? That fear blocks you off from the information. And you'll also see this when you do OBEs. Your fear blocks you from leaving your thought field and going forward. So it's all about your will. It's all about your soul's will. And I I have seen so much weird stuff that now I'm like, show me the weird stuff. Like I just want to know the truth. I demand the truth and I have no fear about what I'm gonna see because I've seen such extreme things that nothing can be more extreme than that. And even if I do see something really scary, I know that I won't be like it can't destroy me, basically. And I'll just say that in the beginning I really relied on my clairaudience. So with a lot of people, when you first start opening your psychic abilities, you'll get information in the way that's most natural for you. So I'm a writer. I write screenplays. I also write songs. So I am a like when I write my music, or I don't write the notes. I write lyrics for musicals, or I have written lyrics for musicals. So when I write, I hear it all in my head and then I write it all down. So I'm able to play like full songs in my head, like full songs. I'm sure a lot of you guys are like that. And then the next Claire that I kind of started to step towards, because it's all about you just paying attention to it. So it's not you're not gonna see anything if you're not choosing to step towards it and pay attention to that ability. So and then I started paying more attention to my clairvoyance, which was also very easy for me because I when I write my screenplays and my stories or whatever, I picture it like as a movie in my mind. So that obviously was a very easy way for me to also get psychic information. And then I incorporated the clair sentience, which is feeling. And I find that really gets strong when you remove trauma from your body. And that's where the womb healing comes in. That's where EMDR comes in. I'll put a link about trauma healing below in my favorite methods. So, and then the claircognizance, that's probably the most recent one that I've incorporated. And it's kind of my favorite one because it's like it's like very quick, I guess. And when I'm doing a reading, sometimes I'll just be hit with a knowingness where it's like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I know, I know. Like, you just know something. But yeah, that was definitely the last one that I chose to tap into. Hi, Jen. Thanks for setting this up. Do you think we can go back to our authentic self slash origins even if we don't heal ourselves? Can we bypass false constructs only by completely healing ourselves? Also, I've seen people healing through visualization, shadow work, journaling, processing emotions. These can be helpful, but do you think these might only target the surface and not address the root? The root being perhaps imbalanced energy. Sorry for the messy questions. No, that's okay. I understood. This is something that I say a lot, and this was something that was shown to me in an OBE, and it really changed the way I saw things and just saw reality in general. But if you died tomorrow without doing any of your healing work, doing none of your that womb healing that I was talking about or whatever it is, if you died tomorrow, you will be met with the same love and acceptance as you would in 20 years after you did all of your healing. Does that make sense? Healing shouldn't be this doom and gloom thing where it's a race. Who can be the most healed? Who can be the most free? So if you see healing as this accomplishment, I would say You don't need to do it. We are so used to running around searching. We we're always looking to find the next thing, be better than the next person. The whole trick that's kind of being played on us right now, and maybe it's the whole point why we came down here. It's that we are living in basically an opposite state of how we normally are. So we are constantly searching for things to give us status or a reward. But the thing is that you'll be like surprised by this in the afterlife, because after you die, you will be met with this opportunity to be in total peace and love, just this sense of home. So, home is total peace, like 100% peace. Looking for solutions, running around like a hamster on a wheel. That's not peace, and that's not home. And I do think it's very easy for healing to be this sort of hamster wheel thing where you're trying to collect points almost. Just trying to like, oh, I have all this trauma, I need to like get rid of it. Where life kind of has a way of getting rid of it, like I said, over time. So I think if you're doing journaling or shadow work, it can be good to use those things to get a more full perspective on yourself, and maybe to go, oh, I reacted this way. Why did I react this way? Okay, let me write it down. Let me see what comes to mind about this. But I think some people really rely on their journaling, where that becomes their new sense of home, when really home is like a birthright. It's just and I know that what I'm saying makes this life seem pointless, but I think that the fact that this life is pointless is the point, which you'll find out later. Yeah, because anything you collect here, it doesn't get you any rewards in the afterlife. It just doesn't. Because in the afterlife, everyone is met with love, and everyone is worthy at the same level. So, like, anything you do here, always kind of have that in the back of your mind, that when you eventually die and you cross over and you're met with the opportunity to go home, you might be met with an angel, whoever, your higher self. When you're met with that, they don't care about anything you've done. They only care about your divinity. And what they celebrate is all the times you've loved yourself. So the more you can realize that you won't get rewarded, because no one cares over there. They actually care so much about your authenticity and who you really are that they just don't care about that other stuff. They don't care. They don't even care that you like united with your twin flame. They don't care about any books you've written or anything you've created. I know it sounds really like kind of pointless, because then it means that everything you're doing here doesn't matter, but that is part of it. That's like part of the process of this life. And everyone will wake up to that eventually. So if you want to do healing practices because you want to love yourself, then I think that's really good. Be careful to not turn it into something that you're relying on or something that you feel like you always need, like the journaling or things like that. How much have you experienced the demonic in your daily life and how has it influenced you? As a Christian, I see you are practicing divination, which is a violation of the first commandment and opening up the door to spiritual attack by demons. Okay, I accept this question. I know that a lot of psychics get this question, and it's fine. So I would first say that I see divination and psychic work on kind of like a scale. So I know that there are people out there who actively call on spirits. They are using divination to mess with people, things like that. They're using it to actually call on demonic spirits. And honestly, I feel like you should be talking more to those people. I feel like you should be talking to the people who are like on the upper levels of society who use like dark occult practices against the entire human race. But anyways, will still accept this because so in my movie decoding videos, I take 4 or 5 movies and I show how all the people who are working on that movie, the directors and the writers, they are channeling certain symbols and color patterns into their movie. And to me, this is an example of how everyone is doing divination all day long. The clothes that you pick out, the color that you chose to wear, that's to me, that is channeling. Having a conversation with someone, that's channeling. When you see someone and you feel a certain way about them, that's based on what's going on with you guys in maybe a past life or some other dimension. And for example, those directors and writers who all chose like the same costumes, the same color costumes, the same character types, the same symbols in their movie, they're not like using cards and closing their eyes and envisioning it. I mean, they kind of are when you're writing a script. You're a lot of the time, like when I'm writing a screenplay, I sometimes literally lay down and just picture it all. So I'm sure that's how they make their choices. That's how artists make their choices as well. So to me, there is no, it's just living. Divination and channeling is just living. It is different when people are literally getting contact from demons. And I have had some experiences that were made me go, okay, there's like weird stuff out there. There was one time where I was in the astrals and I got bit on the neck in the astral, and then when I woke up, I had like a mark on my neck. So, and I've heard a lot of stories like that, like people waking up with bruises and like random stuff. I've heard of people where something will fall off the shelf or like you feel like it's a more aggressive spirit. I believe in all of that. However, I don't think it's right to demonize all communication with the spirit world, especially since everyone is doing it. Everyone is doing it. And I will also say that even in like the Christian religion, I just wonder how the Bible was written. Was that channeled by a human who was in touch with God? We will read the Bible or think about Jesus and all of these ascended masters and think, oh, well, that's them. That was like in the past. We can't do that anymore. Us silly humans, we can't do that. I would say that there is a good chunk of us who can. I will say that there are people who are talking to demons. There are psychics who are talking to demons and they're following their instructions. I know that there are people who have opened the door to demons. There's like certain things that you can do to summon them. There's Ouija boards, things like that. That to me is one category of being psychic and doing psychic work. There's another category that is, I feel, more moral and more based in just living day to day. I personally, I don't do all those rituals and stuff. I've just never been interested in it. I'm barely interested in tarot cards and things like that. I've never been into this idea of actually calling on spirits because my whole thing is that you are already, like, you're already an angel, you're already an ascended master. We are part of all, like, we are part of the all of that basically. So there's no need to, I don't know, have like moon ceremonies and like do all this like crazy stuff because you're already that. You're already automatically connected. What is your take on Taylor Swift and Beyonce? Okay. So Taylor Swift, I never liked her music growing up just because I don't like country music. I like music that has a beat to it because I grew up dancing and I also am a choreographer for theater and stuff. So I did look into her. I looked at a picture of her when she was quite young, and I will be honest, to me, she comes off as a very old soul with a lot of spiritual power. So I believe that within this earth realm, this game that we're in, everyone has kind of different levels of spiritual power that they're bringing down. Doesn't mean that they're not powerful somewhere else, but some people are bringing down a lot of spiritual power, and it's almost like they're very awake here. To me, Taylor Swift is overwhelmingly very, like, she has a lot of spiritual power. She kind of reminds me of Kanye West, actually, like when he was little. And then if we fast forward towards like later on in her career, obviously, she has body doubles. She has been cloned. Think about those celebrities who are ridiculed, who are publicly ridiculed. Taylor Swift, Kanye West, Britney Spears, Michael Jackson. To me, there's a reason for that. They kind of need to be more controlled. They need to kind of be put in their place. Also Justin Bieber. People who are publicly hated, there's a reason for that. And that's all I'll say. And for Beyonce, when I look at photos of her when she's younger, I actually don't get a ton of spiritual power. I see her as being connected to an NPC star race. As we go further on in her career, she has also been doubled many times, like lots of doubles. But I see her as kind of being a perfect person to control because she doesn't seem to have a lot of free will. She doesn't have a very open mind. So she obviously will just kind of go with whatever, and she won't question it, maybe like those other celebrities I talked about. And she doesn't give me the best vibe ever, but it's not the worst. But even when she was young, it's a little bit like, okay, she might be a little bit relentless. And this is just this is not to be taken seriously. This is for entertainment purposes only. It's funny though, because I always loved Beyonce's music, because you can dance to it. So, what are the pre-written history, origins, and original purpose of the Knights Templar? So, I've always been interested in the Knights Templar, and I never really knew what they were. I just knew there's something about this that just seems important. So I did get that they were a group that helped to protect the order of society. So they had laws, they had their own court. I also have always been really interested in that kind of thing. King Arthur and all of the knight stuff. I love war and old wars. I don't know why. Whenever I travel, I like to go to like the forts, the war forts. They were also in charge of preserving ancient knowledge. So I kind of see them as a police force who were rooted in ancient knowledge. They were also connected to the church. So, and I also got that there. I get a good feeling from them. They were a positive force and they were in opposition to a rep race or a dragon race. They are also connected to the Rose Cross, and the Rose Cross represents martyrdom. So the Knights Templar were willing to die for what's right. Basically, they were kind of like soldiers. They also were in charge of protecting the Grail, and the Grail was a group of women who were part of a certain bloodline. So their responsibility was to guard them and die for them if necessary. I like that idea. I don't know. Also, the Knights Templar are very connected to red. So you may have seen in the Red Ray video that I talk about this idea of sacrificing yourself. That is very Knights Templar. They also have a red cross as their symbol. You can think about the literal Red Cross organization, which is probably corrupt by now, but that's a similar thing. Sacrificing yourself, going into dangerous situations for the betterment of others. They're also connected to angels. So whether they were an angel connected to a bloodline that has a lot of angel memories and energy in it, or they literally were angels. That could be possible. So they have a very close connection to angels. What about house cats and their role in pairing with humans? Okay, so this is the last question. So I did channeling on this as well, and I got that house cats are very much between worlds. So there's a reason why house cats are associated with witches, Halloween too. There's a reason for that. It's because they can see beyond the veil. They're also connected to angels, and if you ever see a cat out and around, or even your own cat who's trying to lead you somewhere, they can be sending you syncs or synchronicities from your spirit guides. So that's another thing I got. Cats can also harmonize and clear humans' energy fields. So if you have a cat, it could be that you fit together, kind of like energetic puzzle pieces, and your cat is kind of a energetic soulmate for you, which is so cute. The same way that you can meet a soulmate here, and when you come close together, you feel a healing or you feel a clearing. It's the same thing with cats. They are also connected to black and water and that sort of dark feminine energy. That's why they're connected to Halloween witches, cauldrons, they, yeah, they're like that sort of dark, watery energy of the womb space. Okay, so that's it for this Q&A. If you would like to submit a question for the next video, you can just submit it to the link below. If you are interested in getting a personal reading from me, I will link my readings shop below. Also, if you like this video and the other videos that I do, one way that you can help me keep creating more is to just become a subscriber to my Substack, whether that's a free subscriber, paid, or to share it with someone. That really helps. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next video.